Let's talk about generational trauma, and I'm not going to speak beyond the scope of my own experience of it because there's all kinds of different fucked up forms and flavors of it. But if a person is not aware, then they'll just keep passing on the suffering onto subsequent generations. But if you can become aware and figure it the fuck out, then it can finally fucking stop with you. Generational trauma is like a fucked up emotional family heirloom that you keep sequestered deep within yourself. And if you aren't aware of it, then unbeknownst to you, it will affect your actions and inform your decisions. And you will be effectively rebuilding this fucked up heirloom within the next generation. Because your choices and behaviors are being controlled by the cocoon of lies or shell of anger that's been created to hide our own pain from ourselves. A child does not have the ability to know just how fucked up things may be because they're fucking kids, duh, but also they have no basis of comparison and hold a particular reverence to those that raise them until they don't. If a child does not feel safe or loved or that they matter, they will fucking feel that, but they won't know how to deal with it in any kind of sophisticated or sustainable way, so their young minds go into simple survival mode. Here's just one of many examples how this might play out. A kid faced with death at an early age, let's say it's the knowledge that someone incredibly important in their life was likely going to die on purpose. Their young mind, after some intense fear and suffering, decides to build a box around that part of their mind that is responsible for feeling and processing death, because the idea of actually having to live through that shit, to be purposely fucking abandoned, is unbearable. To feel like you matter so little is excruciating, and so extreme psychological measures are taken. And so you go bebopping along for almost 50 years not realizing just how fucked up you are. But you do notice the concerning fact that you've only cried once as an adult, and it was when your dog got turned into hamburger on a busy road by a dump truck. But some of your favorite people, grandparents, friends, your little sister, all die, and you feel absolutely fucking nothing, and you don't even shed a single tear. You start to get a fucking clue that you're fucked up. And perhaps all that other shit didn't really help, like that one time whilst riding your 10-speed home from school, those fucking gangbangers rolled up in their lowrider and put a shotgun to your head for over a minute just to see what you would do, and all you did was stick your chin up and think, I'm not going to die like a little bitch, because that's the kind of stupid-ass shit a kid who grows up in an extremely violent area thinks. But as a result, you thwart your natural fight-or-flight response system by not reacting, and that is a pretty big fucking charge to have entered your meat battery, and to have never let it out, never cried, never got pissed, never even told anyone at the time. It's like poison voluntarily swallowed because no one ever taught you how to feel. But hey, shit happens, right? And you think, just fucking get over it. And so because you've grown numb to feeling unsafe your whole life, you go find things to do that are dangerous. And as a result of your danger seeking, be it inside activities or a job or the fucking military, whatever, you accumulate more trauma and you don't even feel it going in. Maybe you're even proud of being so chill in super fucked up situations. But that shit you don't feel going in, you will feel it when it starts to come out. And because you didn't feel loved, you can't take on board the fact that anyone actually loves you, even when they say they do. Even when intellectually you know they do, you can't quite feel it. And when you feel like you don't matter, that rots within you and becomes an inherent self-hatred. Like I said, I'm staying within bounds of a very small part of my own experience because everyone's shit is different, but I know someone out there will relate to it in their own fashion. And awareness of how and why we hold shit in is integral to stopping the bullshit from being passed on to the next generation. While my young mind sequestered death and therefore many things related to death, it might show up in someone else as a heightened, even debilitating fear of death. And coping strategies are implemented. One such strategy is to dive all into a religion or belief system that acts as a salve for the fear of annihilation, and makes promises that can act as yet another way to not have to deal with shit, and are so effective that it can put a person on a high horse and they start pointing and judging others, stepping upon the backs of other people's choices and suffering so as to not have to deal with their own fucking shit. Whatever you run from, it will fucking find you. Whatever you choke down will at least be regurgitated and most likely will vomit up as a fucking panic attack or a mental breakdown. But when it finally catches up, I don't mean the results of generational trauma like panic attacks and shit, that comes first, but if you make it through that, then you start to understand the reasons. There's a lot I'm not saying about my own shit, but I found that once you see the genesis and who the people are involved in passing this generational trauma down, you feel the anger, the rage that someone could actually be responsible for or complicit in treating a child such. And you were that child, and part of your life has been fucking stolen in a way because you can't really feel, and you don't feel real, and you're just finally fucking realizing it. It's very easy to point into the past and blame, even hate, and I'm not saying it's not warranted, but what's important is that this shit stops with us, and we understand that anger is a hard protective shell that we use to encapsulate our pain, and those responsible for this inheritance also have their pain, and the methods of which they've developed to keep it at bay. It's a vicious fucking circle. Generational trauma is like a fucking forest fire that never stops burning. It ignites all of our relationships. It cremates our ability to feel things appropriately. And once you know what's going on, you have to just let some of it burn. The old dead trees of memories past that you've ignored, and for a time you are fucking ablaze with outrage. But that method is not sustainable, and we must enter from the burnt down areas of our mind and emotions, and from that wasteland we must then calmly assess the forest fire properly and make plans to contain and eventually extinguish it within ourselves and keep it from jumping into the forest of the next generation. We've got to get through the anger stage or we'll light our fucking saplings on fire too. We have to finally look around at the charred bits and ash and understand what's under the anger. Did we not feel loved? Did we not feel safe? Did we feel like we didn't matter? Were we made to feel it's our fault and that we're not good enough? Whatever young you wouldn't let themselves feel, we got to feel it for them now. I know everything in us rebels from it, but if we allow ourselves to go there, then amazing things can happen. You find you're not torn asunder, you instead feel something for once, and it may start out as sort of a melancholy intimacy with yourself, and if you stay with it, you start to feel more whole, even though you didn't realize you'd been segmented. You start to feel real. No one has all the answers because each situation as it presents within the complex structure of our wrinkly pink meat computer is different, but I think some principles are probably universal. Awareness and a willingness to look at and own your shit is key. This goes both ways, accepting what has happened to you and what you've done as a result of generational trauma. Doing so can help to heal generations on both sides of you, but not everyone is willing to look at this. If a person has woven a body of lies or anger around their own pain for too long, they can become totally identified with it as themselves, and they will continue the lies, and they will blame or make excuses or run or lash out because they have become the lies, and the lies are willing to fucking destroy in order to protect themselves. But don't let other people's lies lead you astray. People will do anything to not have to face their pain, so we cannot rely on being able to finally talk it out or yell it out and hope for some healing from another. A person should come to this shit on their own, and if they do, you can talk about it, and healing can happen. It's fucking confusing because young us developed a just swallow it policy for trauma or abuse or neglect, and if we don't see that, then we just keep fucking doing it. And as adults, when some catalyst or reminder occurs, that belly full of fermented pain comes up as a regurgitation of emotion, a sour feeling that implies way more where that came from, and it just feels too fucking big and we try not to puke. So we swallow it and think shit like, was it really that bad? Am I being overly dramatic? Am I making a big fucking deal out of a small thing? Those thoughts are the throat contractions of the mind's outdated swallowing strategy. We try to talk ourselves out of it to not deal, and thus we're very susceptible to other people's lies, the product of their denial. Well, it has to fucking stop somewhere, so if you have anyone in your family or friends who are stable and honest and love you, use that as a fucking anchor into reality. What I mean is make a comparison between how you feel with those who fucked up and deny it, no matter how compelling the lies or excuses or subterfuge is, and compare it to how you feel around your anchor people. We cannot completely rely upon our own minds so long as there remains a protocol of denial or an unwillingness to look, but your gut will tell you true. That young version of you who you feel run into the shadows when even the thought of facing those who have passed on their generational trauma, that younger you knows what's up. That fucked up kid is still in us, and we may have to become the parent that we needed for them. I mean, literally, find that kid in you, take their hand and lead them into the light of awareness. Love them. Show them the ways in which they're now safe. Show them they fucking matter and that it's not their fault. Generational trauma is a fucking forest fire of low self-esteem, self-hatred, anxiety, depression, PTSD, anger, addiction, abuse, and it wants to spread into generation after generation. You can't just half-ass piss on it and expect results. You have to engage the intellect that you have purified with the light of awareness. You have to let yourself feel to break the shell of anger. And you might have to do a fucking controlled burn and sacrifice the unhealthy parts of the forest of your life to keep it from spreading into your children's forest. Let this fucking shit stop with you. Toodaloo.